The marketplace was loud that evening. Voices rose, prices were shouted, and the smell of roasted food filled the air. Humans gathered around stalls, buying bread, fruit, and hot meat skewers. Children laughed as they ran through the crowd. But in the middle of this busy place stood a figure that made everyone turn away. It was an alien woman. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes deep and tired. She held a small child in her thin arms. The child's head rested weakly on her shoulder, too weak to cry anymore. For 3 long days, neither of them had eaten. She whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, may I have the leftovers for my child?" No one answered. She moved to the first stall where a man was selling roasted bread. Crumbs and old pieces were lying on the side of the table. She pointed to them. "Just those, please," she begged softly. The man's face hardened. He pulled the tray closer. "Get away. No food for your kind." The woman lowered her head, whispering an apology. She turned to another stall where a young woman sold soup. The alien mother stretched out her hand. "My child, 3 days without food. Please." The young woman froze. People were watching. She felt the weight of their eyes. If she helped, they would call her a traitor. She clenched her jaw and shook her head. "Go. Leave this place." The alien mother staggered away, her legs shaking. She was once the wife of a warrior who fought in the Great War against humans. Now she was only a widow with a dying child. She walked through the crowd, her voice breaking again and again. "Please. Please, or just leftovers." But each time, doors closed, heads turned away. Some spat on the ground when she passed, others muttered, "Enemy, murderer, let them starve." The child whimpered weakly. His small hand tugged at her torn cloak. "Mama? Hungry?" Her heart shattered. She pulled him close, tears burning her eyes. "Hold on, my son. Just a little longer." The marketplace seemed to grow colder, even, as fires burned in cooking pots. The laughter of human children sounded cruel as her own child grew silent in her arms. Then, silence fell. Boots struck the ground. A soldier in dark uniform walked forward. The crowd parted quickly, whispering. Soldiers were feared. They had the right to punish, even to kill. The alien mother froze, clutching her child tightly. The soldier stopped in front of her. His eyes were sharp, his jaw set. He looked at her, then at the thin child in her arms. The air was heavy, the people waiting. Would he strike her? Would he drag her away to prison? The mother's voice shook as she tried one last time. "Please, may I have the leftovers for my child?" The soldier's hand moved slowly to his pack. The crowd gasped. Some leaned forward, expecting punishment. Others smirked, waiting to see cruelty. But when the soldier opened his pack, there was food inside. A ration pack, bread, dried fruit, and meat strips. The alien mother's eyes widened. Her knees almost gave way. Was he really going to? The soldier pulled out the bread. He held it in his hand, staring at it as if it weighed more than stone. His own lips were tight, his memories dark. He too had lost family in the war. His sister had starved during a siege. He had watched her grow weak, just like this child. Now in front of him, history repeated itself. But this time he had the power to choose. The crowd murmured. Some shouted, "Don't you dare. She is the enemy. Let them die." Thury. Soldier's jaw tightened. He ignored the voices. His eyes stayed on the alien child, who weakly opened his mouth, too tired even to cry. Slowly, the soldier knelt down. He placed the bread in the mother's shaking hands. The marketplace went, silent. The alien mother stared at the bread, then at him. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She whispered, almost unable to speak, "Thank you." Her child bit into the bread with trembling hands. Crumbs fell, but he ate, life slowly coming back into his eyes. The crowd erupted in anger. "Traitor! Disgrace!" Helping the enemy, the soldier stood again, facing them. His hand rested on the weapon at his side. His voice was calm but firm. "She is a mother. That child is hungry. That is not the enemy." No one dared move. The alien mother held the bread to her chest as if it were gold. For the first time in years, she saw hope, delivered not by her own people but by a human soldier. The crowd watched, divided between hate and doubt. The soldier turned his back on their shouts and walked away. Behind him, the alien mother whispered a prayer, not to the gods of her people but to the strange power of mercy she had never expected from humans. And so it began. The soldier's boots echoed as he left the marketplace, but the whispers of the crowd followed him like shadows. Traitor, sympathizer. He fed the enemy. Their voices stung, but his face showed nothing. He kept walking head high, though inside his chest a storm brewed. The alien mother stayed behind, clutching the bread, feeding her child in small pieces, so he would not choke. Her eyes followed the soldier, full of both fear and wonder. She had expected cruelty, maybe even death. Instead, she had seen something rare, a human who chose kindness, but kindness was dangerous. That evening, the soldier sat alone in the barracks. The ration pack he had given away left his stomach empty. He didn't mind hunger, it was not the first time, but the memory of the child's weak eyes haunted him. He saw his little sister's face years ago during the war. She had begged for bread too, and no one had helped. He clenched his fists. Not again. The door slammed open. His commander walked in, tall, cold, eyes sharp as knives. "You," he barked. "Report." The soldier stood at once. "Yes, sir." The commander dropped a file onto the table. "I hear stories. In the marketplace, you gave food to an alien?" His tone dripped with disgust. The barracks grew silent. Other soldiers looked away, afraid to be caught listening. The soldier met his commander's eyes. "She was starving. Her child would have died. She is not your concern," the commander roared. He slammed his fist on the table. "Did you forget the war? Did you forget what her kind did? Your father died in that war, and still you feed them?" The soldier's jaw tightened. His voice was calm but firm. "I did not forget, sir. But the child is not guilty of war." The commander leaned closer, his breath heavy with anger. "Compassion is weakness. Weakness spreads. If men follow your example, our control breaks. Do you want chaos? Do you want humans dying again?" The soldier did not answer. His silence was louder than words. At last, the commander straightened. "This is your warning. One more act like this, and you will be branded a sympathizer. You know what happens then." His eyes narrowed. "Execution." With that he left, leaving the air heavy with threat. The soldier sat back down, his heart pounding. He had expected punishment, but not such a direct threat. His hand brushed the table, where the file still lay. On the front was a list of enemy sympathizers. The word sympathizer was written in red ink, like blood, and his name was already there. That night the soldier couldn't sleep. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling. The barracks around him were filled with snores and the smell of sweat. But inside his mind, he heard again the weak voice of the alien mother. "Please, may I have the leftovers for my child?" Turned over, restless. He knew he had crossed a line. One step closer and he would be hunted, not by aliens, but by his own people. Still, a question burned in him. If mercy is a crime, then what does it mean to be human? Meanwhile, in the shadows of the ruined district, the alien mother sat with her child. The bread was gone, but the boy slept peacefully for the first time in days. She stroked his hair, whispering softly. Her mind replayed the soldier's face. A human soldier feeding her child. She should have hated him. Her people had always taught her, humans will never show mercy, humans only destroy. But tonight, her belief cracked. Still, fear gripped her heart. She knew what humans did to their own if they showed compassion to the enemy. She had seen it before. Beatings, imprisonment, even execution. Would that soldier suffer because of her? Her chest tightened. She owed him thanks. But more than that, she owed him a warning. The next day, the marketplace was louder than before. Whispers of the soldier's act had spread like fire. Some cursed his name. Others stayed quiet but wondered secretly, was he right? Were all aliens truly monsters? The soldier stood guard at the edge of the square, his eyes scanning the crowd. He felt their stares, heavy with judgment. Suddenly, he caught movement. In the corner of his eye, the alien mother. She stood far away, hood covering her face, the child hidden under her cloak. She shouldn't have been there. If anyone saw her approach him, both would be doomed. But she walked toward him anyway. The soldier's hand twitched near his weapon, not in threat, out of fear. If his commander saw this. She stopped in front of him, her voice low. "Why did you help us?" He looked at her, then at the child in her arms. His throat tightened. "Because I remembered my sister. She starved, just like your boy. No one helped her. I will not watch it happen again." The mother's eyes filled with tears. "They will punish you. I know." His voice was steady. "But some things are worth the risk." A shadow fell across them. Someone was watching. The soldier felt it instantly, the cold gaze of spies hidden in the crowd. He stepped back quickly, his voice raised so others could hear. "Move along, alien. No food for you here." His words were harsh, but his eyes told her the truth. "Leave. Run. Now." The mother hesitated, then nodded. She turned and slipped into the crowd, vanishing like smoke. The soldier stood alone, the eyes of the people still on him. His commander's warning echoed in his mind. One more step, and he would fall. And yet deep inside, he knew his choice was already made. This was only the beginning. The night was heavy with silence. Inside the barracks, soldiers slept in rows, their breaths slow and steady. But one bed was empty. The soldier sat alone in the commander's office. A single lamp glowed on the desk, throwing shadows across the walls. In front of him lay a thick report. On the last page, his name was written in red, Sympathizer. His stomach twisted. Once your name entered that book, it almost never left. The door opened with a slow creak. The commander stepped in, boots clicking on the wooden floor. His face was calm, but his eyes burned like cold fire. "You are here because I still believe in discipline," the commander said. "Tell me, why feed an alien child? What weakness made you betray your own?" The soldier's hands tightened into fists. It was not weakness. It was survival. For him. For her. The commander leaned, closer, voice sharp. "Survival? Do you forget? Those same aliens starved our families. They starved your sister. And you dare to call this mercy?" The soldier's throat closed. The memory struck like a blade. He was back in the ruins of his childhood home. Smoke covered the sky. His little sister, thin as bone, tugged at his sleeve. "Please, brother. Food." He had nothing, not even crumbs. His sister had closed her eyes soon after, never opening them again. The memory was a wound that never healed. Now, in the dim office, the soldier raised his eyes to the commander. I remember every day. That is why I cannot let it happen again. If we become what we hated, then we are no better." The commander's lips curled. "You speak like a dreamer, but this army is not built on dreams. It is built on order, discipline, and hate. Hate keeps us strong." He pushed the report toward the soldier. "One more act of sympathy, and this file will become your grave." The soldier stared at the red ink, the shadows of his past wrapped around him. He was torn between duty and something deeper, humanity itself. Later, in the ruined part of the city, the alien mother whispered stories to her child as they huddled near broken walls. Her voice was soft but filled with bitterness. "Never forget, my son. Humans killed your father. They burned our homes. They starved us. You must always remember who they are." The boy listened, his eyes heavy with sleep. He clutched the piece of cloth that once belonged to his father, a soldier of their people. The mother's heart ached. She wanted her son to grow strong, to survive. But deep inside, a question she hated began to rise. If humans are monsters, then why did that one soldier feed us? She closed her eyes, pushing the thought away. No, she whispered to herself. They cannot change. None of them. But the image of the soldier kneeling offering bread refused to leave her mind. The next morning, the soldier stood watch at the city gate. The air was sharp, the sky gray. He held his weapon, eyes scanning the roads. A fellow soldier walked up beside him. Word spreads fast, he said with a smirk. Some say you're soft. Some say you're one step from traitor. The soldier said nothing. The man leaned closer. Careful, friend. Shadows follow those who stand alone. Then he walked away, leaving the warning hanging in the cold air. The soldier's jaw tightened. He felt the truth of those words. Spies were everywhere. Every look, every whisper could mean betrayal. And yet, his mind kept returning to the alien child's hollow eyes. That evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, he walked the narrow streets near the ruined district. He told himself it was patrol duty, but his heart knew better. From the corner of his eye, he saw movement. A figure in a tattered cloak. The alien mother. She carried her child, hidden under the folds of cloth. Her eyes met his, wide with both fear and recognition. For a moment, neither moved. The world seemed to pause. Then she stepped closer, keeping her voice low. You should not be here, they watch you. His reply was calm, though his heart raced. Why are you here? Why risk being seen? She lowered her gaze. Because I must know. Why help us? You lost family in the war. I see it in your eyes. Why did you not hate us? The soldier's chest tightened. Because hate already killed too many. Feeding it will only kill more. Her lips trembled. She wanted to argue, to spit in his face, to remind him of her husband's death. But her son stirred in her arms, weak but breathing, alive because of this human. She could not speak. The soldier looked at her child. He deserves more than war, more than hunger. He deserves a future. Suddenly, a shout cut through the air. Hey! Torches flared. A group of soldiers turned into the street, their eyes locking on the alien woman. The soldier's heart pounded. If they saw him speaking to her, his fate was sealed. He stepped forward quickly, his voice sharp, harsh. Move along, alien. You are not welcome here. The other soldiers laughed. That's right, dog, run back to your ruins. The woman froze for a moment, then understood. She pulled her cloak tighter around her child and hurried into the shadows. The soldier stood, tall, pretending his anger was real until the patrol moved on. When the street was quiet again, he let out a long breath. His hands were shaking. He had protected her, but how long could he keep hiding? The shadows of his past were already heavy, and now, new shadows were forming, shadows of spies, betrayal, and punishment. And somewhere deep inside, he knew, soon, he would have to choose between his people and his soul. The soldier lay on his bunk that night, staring at the ceiling. The barracks were filled with the heavy sound of sleep, snores, coughs, restless turns. But he did not sleep. His thoughts were sharp as knives. The commander's warning still echoed in his head. One more act of sympathy and you will be executed. His hand tightened on the blanket. He had obeyed orders all his life, but for the first time he felt a war inside himself. Duty pulled him one way, humanity another. Then, knock, knock. The sound was soft, almost lost in the night. The soldier froze. Nobody visited at this hour. Nobody dared. Knock, knock. He rose quietly, careful not to wake the others. His boots pressed lightly on the wooden floor. Slowly, he opened the door, and there she was, the alien mother, cloaked in shadows, her face pale in the moonlight. Her child slept in her arms, his breathing shallow but steady. The soldier's chest tightened. "Are you mad?" he whispered harshly. "If anyone sees you here, both of us are dead." Her eyes were wide, filled with fear and urgency. "I had no choice. I had to come." The soldier glanced over his shoulder. No one had stirred. He pulled her inside quickly, shutting the door. The room was dark, lit only by moonlight slipping through a cracked window. He turned on her, his voice low but sharp. "Why? Why risk this?" She swallowed hard. "To thank you and to warn you." He frowned. "Warn me?" She nodded, her voice trembling. "They watch you. I hear whispers in the ruins. They say humans plot against their own. They say your name is on the list." The soldier's blood ran cold. The list. He had seen it with his own eyes. The commander had not lied. "Who told you this?" he demanded. "Other survivors," she said. "They listen to soldiers. They hear things. They know danger when it comes. You helped me, soldier. Now I return the debt." For a moment, silence filled the room. He studied her face, looking for lies. But he saw only fear, and something else. Gratitude. His chest tightened again. He should not feel this. She was the enemy. Yet here she stood, risking everything, not for herself, but for him. He lowered his voice. "You should not be here. If the commander finds out," her eyes flashed with pain. "Do you think I do not know? Every step I take could be my last. But I came because your act has changed me." He blinked. "Changed you?" She looked away, her voice breaking. "I hated humans. All of you. You killed my husband. You destroyed my home. I swore my son would never trust your kind, but when you gave him bread and I saw something I thought impossible. Mercy." The soldier's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, but words failed him. "I do not trust easily," she continued. "But I cannot ignore what I saw. Perhaps not all humans are monsters." Her child stirred, letting out a small cough. She hushed him gently, brushing his hair. The soldier's eyes softened. He looked stronger already. "A little," she whispered. Then her face hardened again. "But danger grows. Soldiers hunt for me, for my child. They say I am a spy. They want proof that hatred is justified. If they find us..." Her voice cracked. "I cannot protect him alone." The soldier's jaw clenched. He knew the truth. Her arrest was only a matter of time. The army needed an enemy, and she was the perfect target. "Then leave this city," he said. "Run far. Don't look back." Her eyes searched his. "Would you help us?" The question struck him like lightning. Helping her once was a crime. Helping her escape would be treason. It would mean exile or death. And yet, deep inside, he already knew the answer. Before he could speak, footsteps echoed in the hall. The mother's eyes widened in terror. She pulled the child close, pressing into the shadows. The soldier motioned for silence, his hand resting on the hilt of his blade. The door rattled. "Soldier?" a voice called. One of his comrades. The soldier forced his voice steady. "What is it?" "Patrol duty. Commander says report at dawn. Don't be late. Understood." The footsteps faded. The soldier let out a slow breath. The alien mother stepped from the shadows, her eyes wide with fear. "You see?" he whispered. "Every corner hides danger. You cannot stay here." She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. "I will go. But remember this. Mercy is not forgotten. One day, soldier, you may need it too." She pulled her cloak tighter, hiding the child. Then, as silently as she had come, she slipped out into the night. The soldier stood by the door long after she was gone. His heart pounded, his mind torn. The path before him was dark and full of risk. But deep inside, he felt it. This was no longer just about orders or war or survival. It was about something greater, something worth dying for. The secret meeting had changed everything. The city woke to the sound of sirens. Red lights flashed across the streets and soldiers marched in formation. Word spread quickly. An alien spy had been caught. Crowds gathered. In the marketplace, whispering and pointing. Children clung to their mothers, men muttered curses, and women spat at the ground. Fear mixed with excitement. They all wanted to see the enemy punished. At the center of it all, soldiers dragged a woman through the square. Her cloak was torn, her face bruised, but her eyes still burned with defiance. In her arms, she clutched her child who cried weakly. Against her chest, the alien mother. The soldier's heart stopped when he saw her. He pushed through the crowd, his pulse racing. "What is this?" he demanded. Another guard sneered. "Spy work. We found evidence in her shelter, maps, coded notes, weapons." The soldier's blood ran cold. Lies. He knew it. She had nothing. She had barely survived day to day. But the crowd cheered. "Kill her. Hang the spy. Burn the traitor." The soldier's eyes darted to the commander who stood tall on the steps of the courthouse, arms behind his back, face proud. He addressed the people. "This is the enemy who dares to live among us. She plots against our safety. Her punishment will be swift." The mother tried to speak, but a soldier struck her across the face. The child screamed. The soldier clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. That night back in the barracks, he could not sit still. He paced the floor like a caged beast. He knew the truth. Someone had planted the evidence. Someone wanted her gone. Someone wanted him broken. He remembered the words of his comrade. "Careful, friend. Shadows follow those who stand alone." It was clear now. This was not just about her. This was about him. By helping her, he had made enemies inside his own ranks. Enemies who would rather see an innocent woman executed than allow mercy to exist. The next morning, he forced himself to watch as the mother was paraded again, this time toward the prison. Her child cried in her arms, calling for food, calling for freedom. The soldier walked beside the line of guards, pretending to be part of the escort. Inside, his soul burned. The mother's eyes found his for a brief moment. In them, he saw terror, but also trust. She believed he would not abandon her. His jaw tightened. She was right. In the commander's office, the soldier confronted him. "This is wrong. She is no spy." The commander's lips twisted into a smile. "Is that so? Then perhaps you planted the evidence yourself." The soldier froze. The commander leaned closer. "You think I don't see you, boy? Feeding her, talking to her, protecting her? Do you think you are clever? You are already marked. If she dies, you die with her. But if you stand with me, if you let her hang, then perhaps your name can be cleared." The soldier's stomach twisted. Betrayal. It was not just the mother who was targeted. It was him. His voice was low, trembling with anger. "You would kill an innocent child to prove a point?" The commander's eyes were cold. "Better one alien child dies than 100 human children starve. That is war. That is order." The soldier turned away before he struck his own commander. His hands shook with fury. That night, he stood guard outside the prison. The walls loomed high. Torches flickered along the gate, and soldiers paced the yard. Inside, the mother sat in chains, holding her sleeping child. The soldier's heart pounded as he watched her through the bars. She looked broken, but when she saw him, her eyes still held a flicker of hope. He knew then what he had to do. Later, in the shadows of the camp, the soldier met with his only trusted comrade. They framed her. "She will die unless we act." His comrade's face was pale. "If you try to free her, you'll be branded a traitor. They'll kill you without trial." "I know," the soldier said quietly. "But if I stand by and watch, I am already dead inside." The comrade gripped his arm. "You are walking into fire." The soldier nodded. "Then let the fire burn. I would rather die saving the innocent than live obeying monsters." As the moon rose high, the city slept. The prison walls stood silent, heavy with secrets. The soldier moved in the darkness, every step measured, every breath sharp. His hand brushed the stolen key hidden in his belt. He knew the risks. He knew the price. But his choice was clear, because betrayal had already been written in red ink, and now he would write his own fate. The prison stood like a black mountain at the edge of the city. Its walls were thick stone, its gates iron, its towers burning with torches. Few who entered ever left alive. Inside, the alien mother sat on the cold floor of her cell, her child curled in her lap. Chains bound her wrists, but her arms still held him close. The boy whimpered in his sleep, whispering for food, whispering for safety. She kissed his forehead and whispered back, "Hold on, my son, just hold on." In the silence of the night, footsteps echoed outside the prison. A shadow moved swiftly, slipping past guards, hugging the walls. The soldier, his heart pounded with every step. He knew the risks. If caught, he would not see another sunrise. But his choice was already made. He reached the side gate where two guards stood, bored and half asleep. With quick, silent hands, he threw a small stone into the shadows. The sound pulled the guards away. While they searched, he slid to the door, pulling the stolen key from his belt. The lock clicked softly. He slipped inside. The prison hall was dark, lined with rows of cells. The air was thick with the stench of damp stone and hopelessness. Prisoners stirred, whispering as they saw a soldier moving silently among them. "Who is he?" one muttered. "Another jailer?" Another spat. But the soldier ignored them. His eyes searched for one cell. At last, he found her. The alien mother's head lifted, her eyes widening in shock. She gripped her child tighter, unsure if this was a dream or a cruel trick. He pressed a finger to his lips. "Quiet." She shook her head. "You cannot be here. If they find you, then they find me," he whispered. "But I will not leave you." Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time in days, hope touched her heart. He slid the key into the lock. The metal groaned and the door opened. Chains clattered as he knelt beside her, unlocking her wrists. The marks on her skin made his jaw tighten. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded weakly. "For him I can." He lifted the child into his arms, holding him gently but firmly. The boy stirred, eyes half open. For a brief moment he looked at the soldier and did not cry. Instead, he rested against his chest as if he knew he was safe. They moved through the hall, every step tense. Suddenly, voices rose at the far end. Guards. The soldier pushed them into a dark corner, pressing against the wall as torches passed. He held his breath. The mother's hand gripped his arm tightly. The guards walked by, laughing, never looking their way. The danger passed, but the soldier's pulse thundered. "Not much time," he whispered. They slipped through the side door, out into the open air, but the prison yard was alive with patrols. Torches lit every path. Boots struck the ground in rhythm. The soldier's mind raced. A straight path was suicide. He scanned the walls, searching. Then he saw it. A narrow drain tunnel, half hidden by rubble. "This way," he whispered. They crouched low, slipping into the shadows. The mother struggled to keep quiet as stones cut her feet, but she did not slow. Her child's safety gave her strength. The tunnel was small and foul, filled with water and rot. The soldier pushed forward first, carrying the child, while the mother crawled behind. The sound of soldiers' voices echoed outside. At one point, a torchlight swept over the tunnel entrance. The mother froze, her breath caught in her throat. The soldier placed a hand over the boy's mouth, praying he would not cry. The light lingered, then moved on. They crawled deeper, the tunnel twisting until it opened to the outside. A broken grate gave way to the night. Fresh air rushed in. Freedom was close. But then, alarm bells. The mother gasped. "They know." The soldier cursed under his breath. Someone had discovered the empty cell. Shouts rose, boots thundered, dogs barked in the distance. "We run," the soldier said, lifting the child firmly. Stay close. They burst from the tunnel, racing through the ruined streets. The night air was filled with the cries of pursuit. Torches lit the city behind them. The mother stumbled but pushed on, her eyes fixed on the soldier ahead. He moved with purpose, guiding her through alleys and broken walls, always one step ahead of the hunters. But the enemy was closing in. At last, they reached the old city wall, broken and forgotten, half buried in weeds. Beyond it lay the forest. Freedom, if they could reach it. The soldier climbed first, setting the child gently on top, then pulling the mother up beside him. He climbed last, his muscles burning, his breath ragged. They dropped down on the other side, just as torches appeared at the far end of the street. There, a voice shouted. Arrows hissed through the air, striking stone. The soldier shielded the child with his body, leading them into the trees. Branches whipped against their faces, roots tore at their feet, but they did not stop. Behind them, the shouts grew fainter. The forest swallowed them. At last they collapsed in a clearing, their chests heaving, their bodies trembling with exhaustion. The child slept again, safe in the soldier's arms. The mother knelt beside him, tears falling freely. You risked everything, she whispered. Why? The soldier looked at her, his voice low and steady. Because it's the human thing to do. The forest was dark, the future uncertain, but for the first time, the three of them were together, free if only for a little while, and in that fragile moment, hope was born. The forest was still, but the silence did not last. In the distance, horns blew and dogs barked. Soldiers were spreading out hunting. The soldier stood in the clearing, his hand on his weapon, his eyes scanning the dark trees. The alien mother sat against a rock, holding her child close. The boy stirred weakly, then slept again, safe but fragile. They will not stop, the soldier said quietly. The commander will not rest until you are caught. The mother's eyes were heavy with fear. Then we are doomed. No, he said firmly. Not while I breathe. He lifted the child gently and handed him back to her. Then he tightened the straps on his armor. His face was calm, but inside his heart pounded. He knew what was coming. At dawn, they reached the border. A broken road cut through the last stretch of forest. Beyond it lay the outer lands, no man's land, a place neither humans nor aliens fully claimed. But the road was not empty. Dozens of soldiers waited, lined across the path. Their weapons glinted in the pale light. At their center stood the commander, his eyes sharp as blades. The mother froze, clutching her son. No. No. The soldier stepped in front of her, his hand raised. His voice was steady, but his chest burned with fury. Let them pass. The commander laughed. Pass? They are spies. You are a traitor. There is only one end to this. The me. Soldiers raised their weapons as one. The mother gasped. She clutched her child tighter, her whole body shaking. The soldier's voice cut through the air like steel. She is not your enemy. That child is not your enemy. They are survivors. Just like us. The commander's face twisted with rage. You dare speak against your own people? The soldier's jaw tightened. If being human means letting a child starve, then I want no part of it. The crowd of soldiers shifted uneasily. Some frowned, others hesitated. The commander barked, "Fire on my command." But the soldier stepped forward, pulling his blade free, standing tall against all of them. His voice was loud, filled with conviction. Look at her. Look at that child. Do they carry weapons? Do they wear armor? No. They carry hunger and pain and fear. Is this who we are, hunters of widows and children? The soldiers hesitated. Some lowered their eyes. A few lowered their rifles. The commander's face turned red with fury. Cowards, raise your guns. Do not be fooled. But still, more soldiers faltered. The soldier's words had pierced their hearts. He lifted his blade high, not in threat, but in defiance. I will not kill the innocent. If you must call me traitor for that, so be it. But remember this. Humanity is not built on hate. It is built on mercy. The alien mother stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. She had seen humans kill, humans burn, humans destroy, but never this. The child stirred in her arms, opening his eyes. He looked at the soldier standing tall before an army, and for the first time he smiled. The commander roared, drawing his own sword. "Enough! If they will not shoot, then I will." He charged forward, his blade flashing. The soldier met him head-on. Steel clashed, sparks flying. The sound of battle echoed through the trees. The commander struck with fury, but the soldier fought with purpose. Each swing was not just for himself, but for the mother, for the child, for something greater than war. At last, with a final strike, the commander's weapon fell to the ground. The soldier stood over him, breathing hard, blade at his throat. Silence fell. The other soldiers watched, frozen. The soldier stepped back, lowering his blade. "I will not kill you, but know this. Your hate ends with me." The commander lay in the dirt, his face twisted with rage and humiliation, but he did not rise. One by one, the soldiers lowered their weapons. Some stepped aside, clearing the path. The soldier turned to the mother. His voice was soft now. "Go. Take your son. You are free." Tears filled her eyes as she stepped forward past the silent army. She held her child close, her heart pounding with disbelief. For the first time, she crossed the border not as prey, but as a mother carrying hope. She looked back once. The soldier stood tall, watching her. Their eyes met, and for a moment, no words were needed. She whispered, "Perhaps there is hope, after all." Then she disappeared into the forest beyond. The soldier stood alone on the road, facing his people. Some looked at him with anger, others with respect. But he did not care. He had made his choice, because in the end, it was not about orders, not about armies, not about borders. It was about the human thing, and that, he knew, could never be taken away.